Kathryn McQueen, 36-year-old, active member of Team Matagot, been part of the steel fighting community since 2017, represented the United States as Duelist in three overseas tournaments, represented the United States in women's melee overseas twice, national champion for polearm, United States in multiple leagues. Kathryn, welcome.
Hi.
So I'm heading to the Romania Invitational in Oradea, part of this interview series I'm doing. I think this will be day 26. Um, the team, the men's melee five dropped out, and five duelists were like, "Hey, let's make our own team." I was
Yo.
asked. I came on right away. We asked Johnny. Johnny said he couldn't make it because he's going to Denmark with
Okay.
Soldados.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we asked Blake Poole. We asked Brant. Same thing. He's going with Soldados. We got Carl Jung, who's the star of Ordo.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Matt Biondi, who is on the original team that was supposed to go, and he's our other rail. Pretty excited about being with those guys. So
Awesome.
this will be my first Buhurt International tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I've only been in this sport 2 years, but I'm 10 years on the national team in judo. Retired in 2023, but now I'm on the veterans team. I still travel internationally fairly often with them and my home club, Griffin Judo. Uh, Something I've been thinking about, just to start us off with questions. In judo, we have the black belt. We in jujitsu, we have the black belt, of course, and there's like the honorary belts that are much higher. In Buhurt, we get knighted. So my this would be my first overseas trip. As far as I'm aware, when you go overseas, you get knighted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Talk to some guys. It's actually not, from what I've seen, it's not that special or a highly looked upon thing. Going overseas, what does it mean to fight representing the U.S. and what does it mean to be knighted because we fought overseas to you?
So I'm actually kind of an oddball in this. I've not been knighted.
You've not been knighted.
I've not been knighted. So I've kind like the idea of knighthood means a lot to me. And for a lot of people, I think traveling overseas and just getting there is such a big obstacle that
Mm,
I could see where that amount of achievement is enough to be considered like you've achieved this ideal that we in America respect very highly. And for me, I've been so lucky, like financially, and for a lot of the women's teams, they'll basically take whoever could travel. That in a lot of cases, I didn't really feel like I'd earned it or overcome something. I am probably going to be hard on myself and not get knighted until I get a gold over there, but we'll see.
okay.
I think it's cool to have that appreciation ceremony. Only Americans do it, and it's a tradition I think that started because a lot of the people involved in the process kind of came from those SCA roots where the white belt represents knighthood. Um, there's some literature about it in history, but it really wasn't a huge uh, in universal concept that all knights practiced.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched a really long, like each episode is like 6 hours or more of this Crusader documentary series. And it made me start thinking about it. And then, it's kind of a thing. It's such a guys who have been knighted, or it doesn't matter to everyone who kind of has qualified to be knighted. I've
Mhm.
seen, but then a bunch of guys who want to be knighted, it matters a lot to them who aren't
Of
knighted.
course,
So
yeah.
it's like it only matters if you don't have it or you don't qualify for it, from what I've seen from different guys.
I guess that tracks.
In your musings about whether to be knighted or not to knighted or when, what do you want to accomplish to be knighted?
I think obviously I think it's very important when you have win conditions to have something that's personal to you. And I still do kind of set those when I'm going overseas of like what's the minimum I'll be happy, what would be magical or amazing. We're obviously always chasing that gold, but um, uh, I was fortunate enough I got third as a polearm duelist uh HMB in Serbia, and that felt really good to get. It's there are pretty few Americans that have actually like gotten medals overseas because the skill pool in Europe is so high, and that felt like a pretty big accomplishment. Um, I still think that there's a lot of ways that I could be a better teammate to my melee team, though. And I think maybe when I do a better job there, I'll feel better about actually picking someone to knight me. Because I think the relationship you have with the person you pick to do it as well is important, an important part of the process.
So your reputation and why I asked you to be on this is as a duelist. But do you see yourself more as a duelist or as a melee fighter? And what's more important to you? For me, I'm a melee fighter, and I
Mhm.
happen to do longsword because I basically was emotionally bullied by Johnny to do it. He said he's going to IMCF Worlds last year, and to do to do a few different categories. But he had one at bunch of stuff with BI. I was like, oh, why would you go to this like lower league or whatever? And
Mhm.
then he said something that I just can't refute, which is for the love of the game. And I was, oh, Johnny,
Yes.
that's such a good reason. So that's
Yes.
how I got into the longsword. But
Uh-huh.
I am a melee fighter. That's my
Mhm.
thing. And I happen to do this, starting to do this other category. Where do you see yourself? Or are you even pigeonholing yourself in that regard?
Oh, so I love melee, and I'm fortunate to have size and weight and resources to train that I feel like I'm pretty darn good at it. Um, uh, they they definitely like both serve like different like satisfaction like centers in my brain. I what I love most about this sport is how people can find a unique weapon set or like armor set to them and see them just kind of like go off on it. I love like seeing the uniqueness. This person likes longsword, this person likes sword and buckler. Those specializations I think are so cool. And like even melee centric people, like absolutely like that's so cool to like have this thing you love and to really prioritize it. Um, I remember when I first started, I tried to do multiple dueling brackets at once. And I felt like when I was doing that, I was doing my melee team a disservice. And I was like, okay, I'm pushing myself, but I'm doing kind of all these duels not as great as I could be, and I'm also not doing melee as great as I can. So I've found this wonderful balance of doing polearm, which for women has a pretty small competition pool. So when melee comes around, I still feel in top shape, almost in some cases warmed up and ready to go for when we do those fights.
Yeah, that's been my concern too. It's like, well, if I'm doing a bunch of longsword or pro fights, it's
Hmm.
like, am I gonna be maybe injured? Or maybe gassed before I'm doing the thing that I really want to be doing and in
Hmm.
the way. So I come from uh, CrossFit and wrestling and judo and individual rowing. Those are all individual sports. This is my first real foray into doing
Hmm.
team sports. And I'm enjoying this aspect and like the hierarchy of the captain, like giving us plays, like these kind of things. Do you come from any type of sports background?
Not
What
really.
prepared you for your level of accomplishment you have thus far?
Like, so I like did one summer of soccer, and my mom saw me slide tackle another girl and then immediately pulled me out. She was like
Oh man.
shocked and horrified. And so I was allowed to do cross country, which was ladylike enough apparently. And now I hit people with axes, which is great. Um, uh, but no, this is my real like first time getting like a team sport and really like training and like even eating at like a competitive level and to in order to try and maximize how well I do.
So you're the captain of the Madrigals right now, yes?
Yes.
What does being in a position of leadership for your team mean?
I think it. is a big position of trust. Like we obviously democratically vote about it as a Team Matagot, and having that many people believe in you means a lot, and I don't think it should be taken lightly. Um, it can also be a lot of pressure. Um, I don't feel like I'm some sort of strategic genius. Generally, I try to just use my knowledge of our specific competition that we're going to go up against, and we try and make plays around that. I'm lucky to have Johnny Porter's Vagabond playbook as a resource, and so we pull off a little on that. Um, but it's hard, and the logistics are hard, and getting teams together like actively to events is hard. It's like being a captain's hard work. Like, please, like appreciate and help out your captains, and they need it.
I am in a leadership position. I am the coach of our
Okay,
team. I'm a little bit more responsible for the athletic performance of our guys
all right.
and getting more out of them out of practice. When we're in practice and trying to motivate them to do more than just Buhurt. Um, but I am not interested even remotely in captaining a team.
It's a lot of
watching
work.
watching the logistics nightmare of herding cats that it is.
Yes.
Do you guys get to train together? You guys centralized or are you guys spread out?
We are very spread out, and a lot of it is because like when we started out, we still have a bunch of veterans from the original. There was only enough girls for one USA team, and we still have a bunch of those members, and we're all over the place. And what I wanted to really contribute to Team Matagot is I wanted it to be a place where anyone could have like a home to come fight. I think it's important, like the dynamics of a team and support and the experience and logistics. Um, I think sharing those is more important than being a close, tight, clicky group. And like we do our best to try and hold training events where we get as many of us together at one point as we can. But a lot of it's just doing our best personally and communicating as much as possible.
What does for you doing your best personally mean?
For me, ideally, it means doing a little better every time. But after, struggling with depression and life and, all those like struggles, for me, sometimes it's just to keep going. And if that's all you can do, it's like at least you put yourself out there. And there was a bunch of people who were probably too afraid to put themselves out there. I think that means a lot to me.
What does mean on this particular team mean to you? So, from my view, because I don't know, I'm new to the sport. I'm only in 2 years. Madrigals is, from my view, a super team. Is it a
Oh,
super
wow.
team? Uh,
I-
so this is a two part. So the next part will be, how do you feel post Carnage? Because you guys won at Carnage, right?
we did very well. We got second there. The Mythics
Second,
took it
okay.
this year.
Mythics, all right.
Mhm.
So what does it mean to be on not just as the captain with all the responsibilities, but what does it mean to you being on your team?
I have some amazing teammates, like people who I would consider genuine heroes of the sport. And it just feels like an honor to be among them. Like when we first invited Shoshana to be a Matagot, like she got teary-eyed because she'd never been invited to be part of a team before, which feels like a crime against humanity for me. It's like, yes, please come be on our team. Julie is still a Matagot, and she's, the an amazing longsword duelist. Some amazing melee fighters that we have, like Kathryn Herzog, who's from California,
Ah,
is
shout out Zog.
she's amazing. A super just reliable tank fighter, but then just this awesome person who actually had sports experience and has like been able to bring that to our team in a way that so few of us have experience and really like help us bond and come together in ways that I've never experienced before. Um, uh, and Lindy only does support right now. She's out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, but is like one of the most beautiful people in the world. Her enthusiasm and like knowledge when it comes to supporting us at events absolutely helps us do so much better. I think part like I I don't know what I would consider the criteria for a super team, but our logistics that we have in place in the way that we know what we need at an event and that we all kind of come together to make sure we have those resources, I feel like those are part of what set us aside from other teams.
Um, so you've been on multiple teams. Can I get your quick history from your starting to where you're at now?
So when I first started, I was just a duelist. I managed to do pretty well, and it was just sword and buckler because that was all I could afford at the time. Uh, working my way up. I remember I was so scared when I first started melee. I was terrified. Uh, and seeing like heroes at the time that were Hannah Hudson and Lilith Nelson, uh, uh, people like that really kind of brought me into the fold and helped me like kind of get up to the level that like Team USA needed to be. Um, I didn't make, I remember there was like one year specifically that I didn't get selected to go overseas, and I was kind of bummed about that. But what I did was I merked for Poland, which was such a cool experience. Because I got to see their pre-tryout rituals. I got to see like talk about their plays and see how they fought, and that was a really cool experience. I highly recommend anyone that doesn't get the chance to fight with your USA team, reach out to other countries because they have so much information to share. That was really cool.
So, um, this is maybe a little bit of a loaded question, I've been told, but who is the best female fighter in the US right now, in your
Shannonite.
opinion? Say it again?
Shannonite.
Shannon Knight, and why? What makes her the
So,
best?
uh, her physical capability is unbelievably impressive. Her martial prowess is unmatched, I feel. Like we've had to design a lot of our plays and try to like react. How are we going to manage Shanna in this melee? And we've tried. We had
Legendary.
three people designated to take her down, and she was like even just her only point of contact was her foot grabbing onto the stanchion of the rail, holding herself up from being taken down. We still couldn't get her. It was crazy.
She
In the
fights
past,
on what team?
Mythics.
That's what I thought. Does she have a Middle Eastern kit?
No. She in the past has had a brimmed helmet. I think she has the cross with the chain over it now.
Okay.
And also, when we started, the amount of which that she would train fearlessly and fight with guys and be so successful. Like, an amazing story I've heard is one guy hit her in the gooch with an axe, and she reciprocated and broke his cup in half. Don't mess with
Oh,
Shannonite.
dude. That's a fucking great story.
Yeah.
Um, who is the best female fighter that's uh ever been across, if you know, Europe and America
Oh,
or across the world? Who's the best there's ever been?
so that's hard to say. I'm not very great with the names of a lot of the European girls overseas. Um, I got the opportunity when I went to Spain. What year was that? I want to say it was like 2022 or 2024, um, to really get close to Team Ukraine. And in the sport in general, Ukraine and Russia have been vying for the top. It's been a very close match. And those Ukrainian girls were the most hardcore fighters I'd ever met. They fought in every single dueling category, and there was only five of them for melee, and they destroyed. Like Iron Man the whole
Um,
tournament and just killed it. It was and then they're so lovely and friendly. My heart goes out to them in Ukraine right now dealing with the war. it really sucks how much that's impacted them.
Shout out Ukraine.
Yeah.
Uh, Speaking of Iron Manning, um, you're the captain of your team. How do you balance between different levels of tournaments, the people that, let's say you've got your starfighter, they're prepared to Iron Man, keeping them in and maybe having more success and bringing in, filling the slot with people that need to get their time in the list.
So this became especially apparent to me in my year as captain is trying to make those calls of like, do I go for the sure win or do I give this person the experience in order to improve? Which is such a hard call to make. And I feel so bad because there's one, so many fighters, and the more time you spend in helmet, in competition, in those experiences, like that's the only way you get better. And even though like we collect stats on our fighters after every event, you can still manipulate the stats by who you allow to fight. Like picking your lineup is a pretty big call, and I hope people don't hold it on themselves that like just because their captain is making this call this one time that it means that they're any less of a fighter or can't be any better of a fighter. It really comes down to I think trusting the fighters that are the most active and I think rewarding them for their effort. Um, I try to do a balance of like when I know we have an easier team, that's when I'll put in the fighters that maybe don't have as much experience. But I really like winning, and even when we were the Matago's went to,
Oh, big
um,
surprise.
I really like it's I like to make sure that it's a very sure thing, and like we went to Ventura for the Mega Bowl out there,
Hell yeah.
and I was still very sparing with my less experienced fighters, even though the teams we were fighting were like baby Bohurt fighters. They were very new. Jillian obviously was one of the standout fighters though.
Girl Jill, shout out Jill.
We uh I remember specifically selecting her for our 5-on-5 fight. I was like, I want her.
Yeah. She's a tough cookie. I've trained her well so far, but
She's doing very
me and
well.
her both have a lot of work, a couple more levels to go for sure.
Doing great so far.
She just won longsword and pro fight and got silver in the melee in Idaho. So she did
Awesome.
all the
Awesome.
categories that there were other people to fight in. And then I just did melee. I went and I had the pleasure of fighting with Pale Horse, with Kyle
Mhm,
Orthlin. Um, and they got Alexander Kumar Das, who I never fought with before,
mhm.
and it was great to fight with him. And then my buddy Mike Clark was there, which was really great, and Jake, which who's been on the receiving end of a lot of my throws
Yeah.
recently. But he was happy to have me, and then shout out Blackbeard also. It was a good team put together, and I was absolutely pretty stoked with the hang after. Not my best performance, but I did what you hire a merc for.
Mhm.
You guys, I think you guys have a fairly deep roster. Do you have to hire mercs? Do you just bring who you're bringing? Do you bring them shallow, like just bring five people? What's your deciding who's coming with you to tournaments since you guys are so spread out?
So since this last year, especially the last couple months, we've had to work very heavily. We've had a bunch of people in surgery. One of our beloved fighters, Shelby, is making a baby, and we want her to do the best at that as she possibly can. So we've got a bunch of people out of commission right now, and I'm looking forward to when we come back hella strong, which will be great. And I've also liked the merking opportunity because it's been a great way to be encountering new fighters and new blood into the sport and uh kind of refresh in that way. I think that like having a healthy amount of mercs is good for any team. Um, you don't want to get too stagnant in your ways. But I mean, we've also been like that's kind of our MO is a bunch of mercs kind of coming together and doing our best. So maybe that's just why it feels good and familiar.
So, Signet Slaughter last year, which is a small tournament in Washington.
Hmm.
I went as a basically all merc team. Really I got silver among 5 teams or 4 teams, and I really got
Nice.
my bottom beat.
Oh.
An all merc team. But that was one of my favorite experiences because it tested like the
Hmm.
deepness of the well, and
Hmm.
it exposed weaknesses that sometimes you don't know until
Hmm.
you figure out where you're at, it brings out the truth.
Uh-huh.
Had is there a time where this was the case for you, where this thing you didn't you maybe you won, maybe you didn't, that's not the concern, this thing was such an intense test that it sticks out in your mind that that was the time that I was someone before and my
Uh-huh.
skills developed and I became
Uh-huh.
someone after.
Oh, like when you really like feel that you leveled up.
Yeah.
Uh, I
Or you thought like you felt exposed from the intensity or how good or how bad you did or how good
Mhm.
or bad your team did, and then you saw like the matrix after.
Yeah. Uh, two different events. One for dueling when I got that the third place medal overseas. The way it kind of came together, I kind of last minute asked Beth Hammer to coach for me. And the kind of team that we made together with the call outs that she had for me while I was dueling, it was like the planets aligned. And it worked so well. I feel bad in my later fights when I was like fighting like Russia and Ukraine. Like Ukraine, I remember like literally getting tangled in the chain because that was when we had that rule set. There was a chain between the polearm fighters. Did you
Oh
ever hear
yeah,
about
yeah.
that? um, but when it really feels like, because I think for a long time I didn't consider myself a good bohurt fighter, and then the the IMCF championship in Texas, which was unbelievably hot, and sort of just kind of surviving that feels like a big accomplishment. The in the melee there, I really feel like I was just takedown, 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 like back to back to back, was able to like just dominate, and that the way I was like, okay, I kind of have to acknowledge now that I'm kind of good at this. That felt pretty good.
Pause. I think my
Yes.
mic stopped working.
Oh no.
Something's going on. The power went out
I
on my mic.
I can
And
hear
I got
you.
complaints about from the first one that my mic was shit. Uh, so I did something about it. So
But you got the
uh,
fancy golden mic.
I know, and the power system on it is weird. So
Ah,
I
I
think you
gotcha.
have to plug the power system into a computer and not into its own USB.
Gotcha.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound same as you did before, which was fine.
Hold on 1 second. Test, test, test. Pull up my audio settings real fast. Test, 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 test. Whatever. All right. All right. Big question. Uh,
Mhm.
and I want to just hear your take on where you think things are at. What is the current state of women's Buhurt in America? That's a very broad question. Take it
Yeah,
however you feel.
it's pretty rough, and I recognize that kind of being there since the early days, and like I've heard stories from back when women weren't even allowed to compete. So it feels kind of hard to complain about stuff now. I definitely feel like we're in a better place where we are so much more respected and helped by the male teams in a way that we weren't before. And that is a huge improvement. Um, there is unfortunately a really big division among women's bohurt about where it comes to trans fighters, and that division is kind of hurting everybody, where everybody's getting less fights because of it, and that is a bummer to see. I'm definitely pro trans fighter. Trans women are women, and I think they should fight with other women. But I'm also in the belief that like I think co-ed fighting, like I think everything should be either weight class based or have some other shenanigans for how we form teams. Um, and it just bums me out that people are so afraid that it's taking the opportunity for people to excel like away from them.
Uh, what is, would you say, the current state of Bo- Bohurt or Buhurt?
Yeah,
You say
it
Bohurt. We over here say Buhurt, but
both
Johnny
both
comes from here and he says Bohurt.
both are right. It's an Americanization of the European words for bohurt, and there are obviously so many European countries that pronounce it differently that it's fine. Um, it's growing. It's getting so much bigger. It's pretty wild to see how much more official events are being run, the better quality, uh, the size of how many men's teams were at Carolina Carnage with three different tiers was just mind blowing. It's really cool to see it grow, and I hope that means a lot of cool new people are coming in, because uh, I'm not gonna like hide away my awesome sport away from people. I want everyone to enjoy it as well. Um, it is a bummer sometimes not having the like, oh, we can just kind of do whatever when it comes to like authenticity or registration. Like obviously it's like there are rules and procedures that are necessary now for being a more legit organization. And I think it's cool, and I think it's for the better of the sport in the end.
So we're at the current place that we're at in women's
Mhm.
Bohurt in America. Now, there is a future coming. What do you see as the, let's even say, the idealistic version of uh, women's Buhurt? I mean, I'm coming from the melee point of view, but you can go with Duelist also.
Mhm.
Where do you see us going? What is our apex of this sport that you see that going to?
I've definitely been noticing like a higher level of talent present at competitions. I think there are still some ways in which Americans are facing obstacles. Like in Europe, they're so close together. The way they can host events and travel to meet each other is way easier for them. And we're still struggling with those barriers, but I think we are doing better. And I'm hoping that means that we'll be doing better at catching up. um, I think it's still going to be a slow curve. I think uh, just with life in the world and like the economy, a lot of this sport is a financial barrier for people. I'm glad to see that it's still growing, and I think hopefully that trend continues. Um, but we'll see. You know, some things wax and wane. I definitely want to do my best to grow it and support it.
So at Worlds this last year,
Mhm.
this last Worlds, um, the women's fives, let's say, had a rough go of it.
Mhm.
It was a tough tournament, you know. The best came to play.
Mhm.
Now, how do you see um, the women that are representing the U.S. as a sport? How are they gonna come up? How are they gonna level up? How are we gonna represent our country better?
I think it comes down to financial barriers. I think we're still in a place where a lot of the time the best fighters are still stuck home in the States.
Mm.
And until we can help those people get past that, like we're gonna struggle overseas. Like in a lot of cases, we're fortunate enough to kind of just be tourists over there. I mean, I haven't been to an international tournament since Spain in 2024, 2022. Um, so I couldn't say personally what it looked like being out there, or who exactly was able to show up. Um, but I think we haven't leveled up the skill with the ease of logistics of actually getting overseas just yet.
Yeah. Going and participating at these tournaments in Europe, apart from knighting, what does it mean to you representing the US? Do you see yourself as representing yourself, as representing the US? You see those both? What does it mean and what do the stakes mean to you?
Uh, Definitely a little bit of both. When it comes to duels, there's a lot of a mindset of this is me and it's only on me. If I don't do well, I can only really like blame myself. And but I have been able to beat all these people in the US and I am the best that they have to offer. And like using that to kind of like push you forward is an important mindset. Um, I think when it comes to melee, it's just like I don't want to let my team down. Like you put a lot of pressure on yourself to perform very hard, and I think a little bit of it's the good kind of pressure and the good kind of stress that hopefully encourages you to do your best, and it doesn't become so all consuming it cripples you.
I I really like that. I'm the best we have.
Yeah,
You know, I'm the best. I'm the best we have to send. I actually
yeah,
really like that
yeah.
mindset. That's so good, actually. So you're a pretty well-known fighter, at least amongst the guys that I was talking to about who I should interview. Um, do you get a lot of Merc opportunities?
I haven't really had to seek them out recently. I'm sure if I said like, "Hey, could I come fight with you guys?" In most cases it'd probably be pretty easy. Um, uh, I try to like be on good terms with everybody well sociably. Um, I think there are very few people in the sport that I just like, oh, I can't stand. I'm not talking to them.
Okay.
And which thankfully, like the sport is big enough. There's room for everybody. Um, there's no need to start drama as much as it, still happens. Um, I I try to do my best to be diplomatic. And even if like people aren't on the same page with you right now, like I used to be in a place where I didn't feel the same way about trans women as I do now, especially when it comes to sports competitions. And I want to try and be open to like people to change and grow. Um, but I think also because I have those really like intense beliefs, that might be too much for some people. And if that's the case, then I don't want to fight with them anyway. So.
What are the, let's say, skills that let you find marketing opportunities easily? What actions have you taken in your life that lets you be accepted in anywhere you go in the Buhurt community?
I think networking is really important. I've been pretty lazy about it recently, where it's so easy to just like, oh, I'm dead after the tournament. I just want to go back to my hotel and pass out. Taking the time to actually like be part of those post-event parties and meetups is a really great place to like meet with people and like share ideas and experiences and where I think a lot of really strong friendships are formed. And I would definitely encourage people to try and not only like make space for them to happen, but attend and like bring something to contribute. Bring, beer or juice or desserts or however you like to party.
So my particular team, Company of the Bear, we are I'd say a very tight-knit group.
Nice.
Um, we go to lunch, and I really believe one is that we're pretty aggressive with each other on the field. A little swinging too hard, or backing someone to the rail a little hard, or whatever. But we always go eat after. I think
Hell
this is
yeah.
something that's just really builds the camaraderie, especially amongst the very core regulars that show up to our
Absolutely.
Sunday practices. Is there anything that you say like, oh, this is a thing, or this is a strategy, or this is just the way that brings us together and keeps us together?
I definitely think, and this has been in like a challenge for the Matagos, to be in regular, consistent contact, to find the social media form that works the best for the most people, and really like constantly reaching out is really important. Because like people do get caught up in life, and this is a hobby, and they might disappear for a little bit, but taking that time to like reach out to them can have a big impact. And it definitely takes effort. Like you can't just kind of show up. I mean, some people can be lucky and can kind of just show up, especially if you're really good and like people will try and fight for you to be on their teams. But I think it takes effort on your part to like be social, be a good friend and reach out to others. And that's gonna like really cover your butt and be there for you when, maybe you're on hard times or having trouble getting a hold of people.
So there's a big social aspect that brings us together, but there's also let's go kill these guys. But there's different levels of killing. There's our international, right? There's
Mhm,
Carnage and maybe Siege level, maybe even Ventura you could put at the same difficulty
mhm.
and quality as Siege. This is our local, regional event, 4 or 5 teams, whatever. Is there different physical preparations for those 3 levels of tournament that you and your team does?
I mean, we always push each other to hydrate long before the event. It actually makes a big difference, like even a week before the event. Yes, yep, yep. The water you're drinking now will help hydrate you for that event later. So, we try to remember each other to remind each other, make sure you're drinking water. Carb loading is scientifically proven to be very effective in improving stamina. So, like a couple days before the event, when you're relaxing and not overworking yourself and not getting yourself injured, you should be eating
Recovery
a lot of
people.
carbs, things like pasta, bread bowls, like pizza, like absolutely indulge because that's going to improve your endurance, like 100% by the time you get to the event. You'll be able to last way longer because your body like literally builds up those glycogen stores and is ready to go to use them. Um, One big thing I've noticed that I really take a priority of, especially when going overseas, is I try to plan time to get ready for the time difference. I think that can have a big impact on people, especially if you have trouble adjusting your sleep schedule. Getting there with enough time to be on the schedule for the competition is going to help you be able to compete at a level with the locals.
Is there, uh, it's someone's first tournament ever. They're maybe a 2-year fighter, 2.5-year fighter. They got their armor, they've been in their armor for about a year. Their first regional tournament, is there any special prep that you would say, this person going into this tournament, what do you do?
Uh, what I would definitely recommend to new fighters is put on all your armor before the event with like enough time to fix all the broken things you will find. And like I've been so fortunate the amount of times I've been saved by like an on-site blacksmith and like some people like really try to conserve energy and not armor up to the last minute. That's a bad time to find out something's broken. Like you want to make sure that everything's ready to go before you get there. Also, I'm a strong believer in the don't find Jesus or God in the don't have some amazing special epiphany of like, oh, I'm gonna do this crazy new thing to my armor that I've never done before. Like, don't make big changes to what you know works because it's probably gonna screw you up. Um, Try to stick with what's familiar, what you know works. Like, I know sometimes like we take risks, and if you have to like jury rig something the last moment, that's what you got to do. But don't like support people making last minute wild changes that are probably just gonna make things harder in the long term. Other new things. Make sure you bring water, make sure you bring Gatorade, and one of my favorite like a thing that's going to increase your energy levels is a lot of marathon runners have these little goo packets that they take periodically throughout the marathon. I love taking those like in between fight rounds. That quick source of glucose, it's easy to digest. It's not going to trigger nausea. I'm one of those fighters that I just struggle to eat on competition days. It's just the so it's like having those periodically throughout the day will help keep me going. So I recommend them to have that source of energy or glucose. Um, an armor repair kit just in case, which the most valuable item continues to be black hockey tape. because it it
Facts. You heard it here.
yeah,
Black hockey tape,
yeah.
people.
Black hockey tape. Black because like one, it kind of plays with the eye, so it doesn't really check, it doesn't really catch. Um, the the hockey tape specifically looks like cloth in a way that is acceptable by authenticity. So it's considered like a bandage. And I think a lot of people don't realize like how slippery medieval shoes are. And one of the best hacks I've found for that is to just put a single stripe of black hockey tape on the bottom and your grip is so much better. Uh, Better
Ah,
on wood floor, better on wet grass, and it might not last the whole day, but it will make a huge difference in being able to have steady footing and not slipping in a time that you don't want to go down.
wow,
Um,
that's a freaking awesome. I'm clipping this out. That's just for
yeah.
me. That's an awesome
You know,
one.
hide it. This
Yeah.
is my knowledge. No other team gets to know.
When did Greg ever release that podcast interview? Okay, that's a bunch of physical stuff, but mental preparations. Their first tournament, let's say they're a year to 2 years. First regional tournament, they're physically prepared as much as their captain and their coach can get them. What are you guiding them with in terms of mental preparation going into the list?
Definitely. No one has died doing this sport since they got rid of stabbing.
Since
So
2017, I think, right?
something like that is kid sport now. It's very safe.
Yeah.
Uh, but no one has died, so you're not gonna die doing this. It's okay. Um, we're all gonna look out for each other. I think especially like with the team component, like letting people know, like, hey, we're here. If you need anything, you need to be picked up. You need to talk. Like being there for each other is very important. Um, and then I still like would encourage everyone to pick a win condition. Like even it doesn't have to be like, oh, we go to gold or like some crazy impossible hard thing to achieve, but picking like, hey, I'm gonna get a takedown in my first round that I'm there, or I'm gonna try and Iron Man the whole event, like having what feels like an achievable goal for you and just trying to shoot for that. And if something better happens, awesome. But having those little win conditions that, like, hey, even if it's I just want to have a good time with my friends and like throw some punches and then go get a really good dinner afterwards, like, cool. But like, pick something that you will feel satisfaction from doing this very hard thing.
Okay, so we have our new fighter, now our second level fighter. They're
Mhm.
ready for Siege, Carnage, Ventura Mega Bowl, Cali Classic, these bigger tournaments that, a lot of teams are coming to, 10 plus teams. What is their physical prep in comparison? They're 3 years in, they got their armor pretty much dialed in. Uh, what is their change to their physical prep in going into a much more difficult long day tournaments, maybe 2 day tournaments?
I still think it's a lot of the same basic advice. Usually by that level of experience, I think you get people have evolved their own personal routines and sticking to that is good. Like we always try to like share ideas and advice with each other, and, pick what works for you and toss away what doesn't. Everybody's body is different and that's totally okay. Some people can eat a whole feast before fights. Some people like I will throw up if I eat too much beforehand and like stick with what's manageable for you and your routine. Um, and we don't really like police each other at that point. I think when you've fought with someone that often that like, hey, this person's a solid fighter, I can trust them to be there. It's more of uh maybe watching for body language in case something's wrong. And if you see that like, hey, this person's struggling and I don't normally see them do that, checking in and seeing what they need and helping out. Like, oh my God, Kathryn Herzog basically saved me. It was on a day that I was just doing support at uh the IMCF American Championship in Texas and I didn't realize that I was getting kind of confused and out of it. And she like came and checked in on me and was like, hey, when was the last time you had water? It's like, oh, I had some earlier. It's like, when was the last time you had electrolytes? And I was like, oh, I haven't had any all day. and she took out these salt pills and she like handed them to me and she's like, if they're sweet, you need more. And I was like, this isn't candy. Like, I was I thought she was handing me like sweet tarts or something. Uh, when your body's that deprived, it thinks salt is literally sweet because it wants you to eat more. And I was in a, I think that's the closest to a heat injury I've ever taken. And the fact that she reached out, addressed the situation, and like even had a kit with those salt pills ready to go, saved me from actual injury, which I'm very thankful for.
Brad, what goes into our uh, highest American tournament preparation mentally? What does what does uh what should someone be doing to get themselves ready in their mind for this
Mhm.
level of tournament?
Um, I think communication is probably what's going to make the biggest difference. Um, like I had the good fortune. I mean, there was some pros and cons, but being around Iron Phoenix, which was the top U.S. team for a very long time, and they came very close to uh, beating Russia in like Italy, and they were a bunch of big like alpha male guys that were really hard and critical of each other, and I think they kind of tore each other down in that way because they no one else's training routine was good enough for them. And I I felt so bad for like how unhappy they seemed like showing up to events. Like I get it. Like locking in is important, but I think you want to be like you want to have that team cohesiveness of like, hey, we're ready to go. We have these like this team language prepared. We have these moves prepared, and um, being willing and able to like talk to each other is going to go a lot further, especially if you're doing that like you're trying to like you can only win as a team. Like one man is not enough to get a victory in melee.
What goes into the mental prep of uh let's say the highest level into worlds, into way of honor, into what was prime? How should someone be mentally preparing themselves for the top competition in the world? And for Buhurt fighters that don't fight like Americans, that
Mhm.
hit the hands or really aim for the gaps or aren't and are fine if you die in the list.
It can be a savage world, man. I think when you're at that high level, a lot of different people will find what works for them. For me, like especially when it comes to dueling, the way I kind of lock in, like I know I'm not as talkative because I'm really thinking about my strategies and my plans and what I'm gonna do. So I may kind of like start to be a little unsocial because I'm just there planning before I go into the duels. What I want to make sure I'm doing is that I always do some sort of like flow or movement practice, like one to get warm, two to just like refresh the way the weapon moves in my arms. Like that kind of process has been kind of meditative for me. And I also think it acts a little bit as psychological warfare for the other team, like for the other duelist to like see like this is how comfortable I am with my weapon as I move it around. Um, and kind of psych them out a little bit there. For melee, I think we're usually just kind of trying to get like pumped and hype each other up. One of my favorite things that I saw that Hannah Hudson would do before a fight, she would say, she's like, ask me what I want to do. She's like, what do you want to do? She's like, I want to rage. And then they would just like bang helmets together like as hard as they could. It was so fun.
I
You
think
got to
that
find what
there's
works for you.
Yeah, I think there's guys that are on my team and the teams that we combine with that are like that, that are
Yeah,
are
yeah.
are hype guys. I am not. I have found at Carnage, one of my favorite stories about me is that I fell asleep between rounds because
Really? Holy
I
shit.
I do this meditative breathing. There's a great photo where everyone's like sitting in chairs and our Captain Zale is like standing and like
Yeah.
his aura is high. But you can see in the helmet, I'm
Just
asleep
passed
in my
out.
chair.
Amazing. That's
I am
so
I'm on
good.
the extreme
Uh,
relaxed, which I also like to I maybe I don't fight that relaxed, but I feel relaxed when I'm fighting. And I talk a lot. Like we just had I fought with Pale Tempest. Shout out Pale Tempest and thank you,
yeah.
Kyle, for having me. Um and I the whole time I was gapping, talking shit and just having conversation out there because I'm real
Amazing.
relaxed. That's my style of fighting, and my style of
Honestly, yeah.
preparation is to be like like my way that I enter what I call the flow state is
Uh,
to bring down my heart rate before we start fighting
mhm,
and a small jump with my breathing right as they say start fight because I also like to rush.
mhm,
And I'm out there and I stay cool as a cucumber, at least in my
mhm.
mind, you know.
I think
So
that's a really good point to bring out. Lowering your heart rate and lowering your breathing rate will do so much to like increase your stamina, lower your body temperature. And it's interesting because I think apparently there have been studies where when Navy SEALs like enter a combat situation, their heart rates actually drop because they're
yeah.
like in that zone where they're relaxed and they're ready. And trying to achieve that, but especially between rounds, it should be a goal. Like slow your breathing, slow your heart, relax. Don't be freaking out over the last round. It already happened. Just work on what's going forward. Work on getting your body in the place that it needs to be. And yeah, I think that's really cool that you can do that. That's badass.
What is your mental preparation like as an individual?
Um, uh, So it's like I've said, I've gotten my routine down. I'm very fortunate that like usually we have a hotel set up that we're a bunch of our teammates are together. You know, I've got my husband there supporting me,
Shout
and
out husbands.
shout out husbands, helpful husbands, really helpful husbands are wonderful. Um, and uh, it's like even when I'm having like trouble eating, like Sam will always have like something ready that is something that like I can eat. Like he makes sure to grab goo packets or to have like pre-workout or a 5 hour energy or like those little things. I am I've become a big fan of pre-workout before events. The way my metabolism works, I like to take it about 30 to 20 minutes before we start fighting. And once a day, I like to take a 5 hour energy. I feel like I'm way more alert. One year at Carnage where I did really good, I also chugged an energy drink, which I would not
Oh,
recommend
you
doing.
caffeine max to the limit.
There's a pre-workout, 5 hour energy.
Yeah.
Also, it can be a lot, but man, that was such a rush. That was a really, really fun tournament. I was like, see y'all in space, and just chugged it down. Uh, so definitely like you use the supplements that works for you, use the diet that works for you. Um, uh, I I have trouble overheating. One, like women in general
Would it be
have
from the 2,000 milligrams of caffeine you
yeah, I
take?
mean, yes, but so women have a higher fat content, and fat does not release water as efficiently as men do. So that may be another reason why women can like dehydrate or have heat exhaustion a lot easier. But I take some depression medication, which also impacts your ability to sweat or release heat as efficiently. And so what I have definitely done or have started doing is I'll actually get my gambeson wet and like the inside of my helmet wet beforehand to like pre-cool myself down and keep cool. Yep.
So we just had this fighting event 2 weekends ago in Sanger in Fresno area, and it was 105,
Mm,
and it cooled down to
wow.
101 when we started fighting. Soaked my helmet in ice water, and I pre-wetted my gambeson. Absolutely. I didn't win the event, from being the best fighter or being the best condition. I scienced my way into the win.
Yeah, but he also didn't die.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to back up to a question, um, and just phrase it openly: is the girls have, where we're at in Buhurt now, where we're going to the future. How can the boys help? What do the boys do? What should the boys be doing to further women in the sport?
My mind goes a couple different places. There were a couple times when I remember like being overseas and it's stressful and we're all trying to figure stuff out and watching all the women help the guys like get in armor, get where they need to be, and then when it was our time to armor up, it was it's like we were so alone. Like it was just us there, no one to help out. And it's like at the very bare minimum, just like reciprocate the favors that are given to you. Like if we're helping you with water, like if you could come help up with us with water, like please try to make time and energy to do that because that will encourage us to one keep doing that for you. But will also like help women feel more like accepted and part of the sport. Um, but even just being thankful, like I've seen some guys shout, "Water, water," and it's like, dude, why are you being a dick? Like, we're not your, we're not your servants. Like, wait. Uh, very, I would encourage people to be the like Beatrice Kiddo in Kill Bill, where she very politely sits down, "May I have a glass of water?" Because the people that help you are a treasure, to be sure. Um, and I think one of the biggest struggles that women have in the sport is getting armor that fits them. And this is tough because, like, armor is expensive, and having loaner armor that is small may not be financially feasible for some groups. Um, but I think um, it's definitely something like for our medieval group, we are working to have like loaner armor in every size so that everyone can start out like as soon as possible.
That is a
And
tough
but
ask.
yeah, but we've
Yeah.
Sam is also specifically amazing at finding really good deals of armor, and that can be tricky if you're still new to the sport. Um, I would say another thing that would set some people apart, like when Lilith first joined the sport, they mentioned that it was their first time at like the New York Sentinels practice, or I'm not sure what the New York team was called then. Um,
I believe now they're plague rats.
they are the play. No, I think they're both.
It was back when you couldn't do crossplay. They were the Sentinels in the ACL and the Plague Rats in HMB.
They used to be two teams, but are they just the Sentinels now? Or are they just
No,
like
no, they went there. There's now the Plague Rats are their A team and the Sentinels are their B team.
okay? Most of the guys were pretty dismissive of Lilith at first, who is a small, a feminine person, and Sam went up and they just started talking about comic books and like connected in that way. So I
Yeah.
think finding common ground, not being creepy. I know that there are definitely people in the sport who like to date newbies.
Boys,
Yes.
boys, settle down with
Yeah.
any girls that are on the team. No, all of you. I'm
Agreed.
telling you now.
Off
Grow
limits.
our sport. Don't be that guy on your team. You're not the exception to this rule. All guys out there listening to this,
So the
let
actual answer is
the
that I
girls
learned
have
this by
their
being a
space.
decent fucking person and have like, a mom and sisters. The joke answer is I learned this being in like a death metal band and you don't want to alienate the one woman in the fucking room. Um, but also just treat people like people. Anyway, you're doing your thing.
Yes.
Yeah, those was fucking rad. So those are small.
Yeah. Um, Nothing else at this point in time comes to mind, but it is so wonderful that you are asking these questions and having that dialogue. Like that means a lot.
I
Just
wish I
doing
had
that.
better
Doing,
questions like to know because I have no idea what the answer is. We have the same problem in judo. Like I don't
Mhm.
know how to get more girls and America being more competitive in females judo. I have no idea. I don't
That's
I don't
very
even
true.
really know how to get the boys to join. to
Yeah.
have more boys in either of my sports. So
Mhm.
that part of the outreach is the grassroots is outside of my understanding. I know how to fight. I don't
Yeah.
even know about the historic stuff or the politics I'm out of. I just know how to
Yeah.
fight, and that's what I'm interested in. But even the recruitment aspect on both sides, I'm not aware.
I mean, I think just like putting yourself out there as like an organization that's available, and then the people that are brave enough to actually show up and ask questions, not scaring them away, can make a big difference. Um, and I know something that the Knights Hall that I think has improved their culture a lot, especially in getting rid of like white supremacists and the like non-ironic crusaders, is they've started to put rainbow flags everywhere they can because that scares that type of person away, and will hopefully bring in the more gentle, accepting people that you want to be part of the sport.
The first rule of Fight Club is if you kiss a dude on your first night.
I think our team's current philosophy um, is build it and they will come.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
as I don't think we know another way. So we talked a little bit about uh, the mental preparation of like right before you get on the list. Let's say you're pre-workout.
yeah.
I'm taking a nap.
You taking a
Uh,
nap?
um, is there a switch? So for me, I'm entering what without better terms, the flow state. I'm in there, I get my 2, 3, 4 kills in a round. You know, the I don't feel like something clicks. I don't feel like I do anything to make it click. I'm focusing on keeping my nervous system relaxed and keeping my heart rate down and not expelling too much um, C2O or inhaling too much oxygen, just keeping neutral. Is there a switch for you? Is there a get hyped, turn it on, let's kill them, let's do our plays? What do you think about the switch?
Honestly, the switch doesn't come on for me until like the first point of contact. It sometimes it's that first fight, that first match, which sometimes I feel like that's usually the most clumsy match, depending on like how just depending on the day. But once you get that like either that first hit, that first punch, that first axe blow, that's when the switch comes on for me, and I just feel myself kind of go into battle mode. I struggle with when I'm in that place, I go nonverbal and I'm not great at communicating with my team, but I generally go into kill mode, and that is how I try to help.
So your switch is the contact and taking that
Yeah.
first punch or that first hit. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there this one in particular thing you remember that you've seen one particular fighter, they did this amazing thing that was incredible to see this thing in the list that sticks out to you across all the Buhurt you've observed?
I definitely could. There's a lot of really fun stories that I have, but the one of the fun ones that comes to mind, and I think a lot of people can take this into mind with how tall the list is now generally. Um, I was watching Sam fight, and he kicked someone just in the right way, somewhere on the hip, but they spun around 360 degrees, and he was still on his feet, but he was entirely outside the rail. And it was
Wow.
amazing. So, a well-placed kick at the right time, and then also like I think there's that non-stereotypical dimension of like, hey, just the ground is enough. Like getting him outside that list fence is a new way to open up takedowns, and that was really fun to see.
Okay, I want a little brag here. I want
Yeah.
a little advocating for yourself, a little boast. What's the most amazing, the one thing in the melee list that you did as a fighter?
So I think this happened actually pretty recently. And I had a pretty stacked list. I had Shanna, I had Beth, like these are huge veterans. I think we were fighting, it was the women's team from Utah, the Nightingales. It was 3v3, and they had one
Nightingales
very
is correct.
large female fighter. And I'm not sure if it was our original plan, but both Shanna and Beth were trying to like take her down. And so I was left facing two people, and I managed to get a like side takedown where I pulled her down by her head, and then the third girl on their team tried to come grab me by the head, and I just shoved her with my axe. And so takedown, shove, and she went flying, and I secured that victory in like 6 seconds. It was awesome.
Where was this?
That was in Ventura.
I think I was watching when this
Yeah,
happened.
yeah.
I like freaked out. Like, oh my God.
It was so fast. It felt really cool.
Very nice. Okay, what's the thing that sticks out? It's I'm assuming that the a time that you won, maybe even overseas, that sticks out to you as a duelist. What was like, oh, that was the time for me. That was my day.
Oh. So every time I'm in a dueling event, I try to show that I have prowess with the weapon. It's important for me to like show that I'm not just doing the same shot over and over again. That I'm fortunate enough I'm ambidextrous, so I'll like fight with both hands to show that I can do that. Um, but and there's a lot about duels that's kind of like a dog and pony show. Like you're showing off for the marshals in a way that you're trying to convince the marshals that you're winning. Um, but I think my hardest fight was a Brazilian fighter who had a really short axe. And I want to be the kind of polearm fighter where I have like a golf bag of like different polearms I can pull out. Like I want to have a minimum shorty and then like a maximum long boy. But she had a minimum shorty, in which the IMCF rule system really favors that fighting style. And she was such a hard fight. Like I was being pretty good at being reactive, but she was getting hits on me. Um, it must have been really close. Um, I think the only thing that gave me the upper edge was that her edge alignment for the axe head was off. Something that I am a huge proponent for polearms is having a glaive or a spearhead with that really long scoring surface. And so like my knowledge and my preparation of that weapon was what won me that fight. Um, I know that doesn't sound very intense as a story, but like getting locking down that victory meant a lot to me because one, that's what got me my overall gold, and she was a hella intense fighter. Like she was uh like up in my A range using so much energy. It was way more active than a lot of polearm fighters are. It was intense.
What is this might seem very personal. It doesn't have to be that personal, but feel free to say however you feel. What's the most amazing thing you've done outside of the list?
Oh, interesting. Um, I I feel like I've lived so many lifetimes. Uh, I was in the Navy for 6 years, and the program that I went through, I was actually in the nuclear Navy, and getting through that school process is academically more difficult than the Navy SEAL program. Like it's the most difficult program like academically in all the branches. And the fact that I got through and passed, I'm like, I was one of two girls in the graduating class out of 60. I was really proud of that accomplishment of making that through, putting all the extra hours into study, basically having no life. And like I wasn't strong in math, at least I didn't think I was before I started, and working to overcome those weaknesses in order to not lose my rating. That was a lot. And so yeah, joining the nuclear navy was definitely a huge accomplishment in my life.
Congratulations. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take this idea of um, there's fighters that come for support to hang out there, just do our red fairs. Maybe they'll film for a tournament. Then there's our serious fighters. There's a whole spectrum in between, but we'll break them into two. When do you, if you do, push these fighters who can do more for themselves and for the team uh, into this? Let's get you into a competitive space or mindset. Do you just let them decide, or do you see, hey, I know you could be doing more with us. Uh, do you push them into the later category?
So I think that's tricky, and I've definitely seen this with more men than I have women, and we very much call it there's the beer league and then the actual competition. And
Yep.
I don't think there's anything wrong with being a part of the beer league. I think that, getting together with your friends and doing something you love, and if it happens to get you to be more physical than you would be otherwise, great. I think the tricky part is people who don't realize they're in the beer league and think they're at the competition level. And when you're only when you're you have such a high chance of getting injured if you are
Yep.
not actively practicing and training. And if you're just showing up occasionally, practicing once a month or uh, once an event, like you're not doing enough to have your body be ready for these tournaments. Um, I worry about those people getting hurt, and then unfortunately, largely I see them have the attitude where they're blaming other people or other circumstances. Um, and I think based off of that mindset, I wouldn't try to change their mind. Like, just let them do their thing and play over there. Um, I think one of the troubles that the women's team have is our sport very much favors bigger people. And we have some fighters who are really good but are really small and are disadvantaged in a lot of ways, especially with the current rail system. Like Beth is an amazing veteran fighter. I don't want her anywhere near the rail. She's so short, she's so easy to push under. And like she can be an amazing fighter, but like she needs to be careful about that. And I think I don't know I don't know how to make the sport a more even playing field for those smaller fighters. I've definitely like toyed with the idea. I think it would be interesting to see a competition where the total team's weight had a limit, and you could put as many people as you could within that weight limit. And I'd be really curious to see how the meta would form. Would it just be a couple people that are all the same weight and size, or would you get some very big people and some very small people so that you could, maximize your flexibility? Um, Unfortunately, I don't have the logistics to start those sort of trial runs, but I think that'd be a great way to get some like co-ed experimentation going.
I think my friend Andrew Barron would like would like this.
Yeah, yeah. Andrew's
Because
great. He's
the person
awesome.
he's fighting the most in his life is me. So well, I'm a slim 280 right now. So
Woo!
uh okay. In terms of being the best, what does it mean, men, women's, whatever, being the best in the world? If there is such a thing and is there is such an individual, what defines being the best?
Um, that's interesting. You could definitely base it off of like your fringe, obscure rule system. Like, but let's be honest, rule systems and leagues, they kind of come and go. Um, and who is the best can be very much determined by what the current rule set is. Like when I was talking about the chain being in place for the polearm duels before, what I heard is the reason why the Russians started doing that was because they were so mad that Jeff Galley kept teleporting behind them into their A range and just destroying them, and so they designed the
Okay.
rules so that he couldn't get close. Um,
Shout out
uh,
Galley. He's the trainer of my Captain Sale.
he's certainly a legend in the sport.
Yeah.
Not a perfect person, but he's taught a lot of valuable stuff to fighters.
Fortunately,
Uh,
I at Carnage I got to have about a 3 hour conversation with him. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing.
What separates Buhurt fighters that are just our, tournament regular fighters from individuals who are truly elite?
I think one because I've seen demos where like they've had special TV shows or special events where they've had a very accomplished fighter from another sport, put on armor and get thrown into the mix. And uh, so far they have not done very well. Like learning how to move and function in armor is its own skill set. And I think that is something that bohurt fighters develop specially that's very different from every other sport. Like you literally build all these teeny tiny micro muscles that your body didn't use before. And I think that's another reason why I see such a huge skill disparity between experienced fighters and new fighters is because like they don't have those movement muscles yet. Um, I think that there are some gnarly bohurt fighters, like fucking. I don't know if you know who Marcin in is. He's a Polish fighter, and he got like,
Um, I'm aware his name is Marcin, maybe.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. He got strongest man in Poland one year. Like there are unbelievable athletes who do this sport, and uh I don't think that this sport in any way takes away from your ability to do other sports or that is anything special that like people can't achieve over time, but it is a very unique subset and for me it's been the best adrenaline rush I've ever had in my life. Like those melees are fucking awesome.
So we've talked about preparation, but let's talk about we're in the fight. We're under the shit. We got two fighters on us, maybe three. Uh, Things are getting down to the wire. When you're out there, what are you focused on? Are you thinking about anything? Your switch is on, your switch is off, relaxed. Are you focused on the outcome? Are you focused on the individual in front of you, the play at large, your own performance, actions in the moment? What are you focusing on, if anything, when you're in the mix?
So definitely breathing, especially I fight in a closed visor helmet and making sure that I'm actually actively blowing out the CO2 and breathing in that way. I think it's a natural fighter's flight response to kind of lock up and hold your breath. So making sure you're breathing. And when I start to get tired, what keeps me going is I tell myself they're tired too. You just have to be a little bit stronger than they are. Like at some point you're going to give out, but like just keep going a little longer. Just like set those little tiny milestones. Um, it can be I think there's a lot in the sport that comes down to who worked for it the hardest and being able to do that and push yourself in that way. Like being used to being uncomfortable will help you succeed at the competitive level.
Is there across all ranges of, let's say, quality of fighter, is there a mistake that you see at tournament that costs teams matches?
I think one of the biggest problems that I see, especially in melee fights, is when everybody breaks off into one-on-one fights. It's still a problem. We're still working on that. Um, you really need to take advantage of getting a two-on-one or having fighters that can hold off uh, multiple people at one time so that you can give your team that opportunity to get that two-on-one. Um, and thankfully it's less, but it has still been a huge problem that people will charge a person straight on and push them into the rail to no effect and expelling so much energy. And a lot of competing in melee comes down to energy conservation because you're trying to outlast those other people. So trying to stay away from one-on-ones, keeping moving, and not wasting your energy doing something that's not going to actually help you is important.
If you could steal, you had a magic ability, you could steal one skill or attribute from any fighter, any Buhurt fighter in history. What skill or technique or attribute would you steal from them and from who?
I just want Johnny Porter's endurance level.
Okay.
Yeah,
Unlimited endurance.
unlimited endurance for real. Like the amount of like brackets that he medals in and then pro fights in and then also just murders in
Oh,
melee. It's heroic, and
mhm.
I very much admire him for doing that. And I know he works very hard to maintain it. He does a
Yes,
lot of
yes.
training. He does a lot of studying on how to train effectively. Um, uh, uh, I'm still jealous of it.
Johnny Porter's skill level and acclimates are not an overnight success. They are
No.
a legacy
Yes, yes,
of
they are.
development.
Yes.
Uh, what's an underrated skill that, let's say, new fighters and spectators can't really see, but is really important in Buhurt? What's an underrated or overlooked uh, skill?
Um, One of the goals I generally have for new fighters is or can be the ability to not go down. Either being able to be in that uncomfortable position where two people are trying to take you down, or being in an uncomfortable one-on-one where you don't feel like you can get a dominant edge. Because there have been times where I see fighters and I feel like they get tired, and the way they kind of tap out or give up is sort of just like kind of let the other person take them down as a way to be like, oh, they took me down. They're so good. Like, I didn't get tired and give up. Um, Seeing people that are able to like fight through that and keep going, those are the fighters I'm going to trust more than someone who has all these crazy fencing techniques. Like, I want someone who is going to stand there for as long as they possibly can, as long as it's helping the team.
I want to shout out Brian DG right now.
Yeah,
I talked about it before. Uh, the amount of damage that he took from Joseph Brandt, AKD, and Wild that are all fighting him two at once, and just
brutal.
the
Brutal.
the amount of a wall he was, and never was the last one up on his team. Two, three, I think one of their rounds even lasted 4 minutes. The amount of damage he took and his iron will, I really
It,
like.
it's
I
so
was
impressive.
quite impressed with his performance at
Absolutely.
Ventura. Uh, there's we all have our preconceived notions about things. You're a veteran in the sport. Is there something that you had? I have this belief, 2017, this is the way training is, this is what gets you to be good, or this is what I am. Is there a belief that you had in the past about training that you have now? That you're like, oh, I was full of my own stuff back then. And this is the way it really is.
Um, I don't know if I think of it. There's nothing really like severely big that I've definitely gone through changes, but nothing stands out as being like, oh, I was an idiot. Oh no. Um, I've definitely from the beginning always kind of modeled my armor for being as efficient for the sport as possible. I know some people for vanity will like have the crazy ridiculous helmet that just doesn't work and they can't see, but it looks so cool. Um, I think one big misconception about training that I learned fairly recently is I had a personal trainer correct me that uh, protein farts aren't from not absorbing the protein. I thought that someone had taught me that if you're having really bad farts after having protein supplements, it means you're not absorbing it. That is completely a myth and misconception. That's not how your body gets rid of protein.
Through methane.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
What is your weekly training like?
So I'm very fortunate. My like I said, we have a local group, and we've been able to have an armored practice for SCA fighting once a week, and I've got plenty of people who are willing to practice doing bohurt duel rules at that within reason. We obviously like it's SCA, so we can't like punch each other during the practice. Um, but once the clock runs out and practice is over, we can go around the corner and like work on some grappling or other tactics like that. We have a Sunday wrestling practice, which I think is the most valuable resource that I have available to me. We just practice standing grapples. We do a bunch of different drills, throws. Sometimes we'll do some cardio stuff, but definitely try to incorporate a lot of games, doing wrestling and takedowns. Um, uh, I don't really know how to describe the games very succinctly or quickly, but when it comes to wrestling, the fact that you're working so many muscle systems in your body and getting that endurance of being engaged and like I have practiced fighting a lot of people bigger than me. I'm building a lot of strength that is going to help me so much in the melee. And that is very invaluable. Getting getting better at, like I when I initially joined the sport, I had put a heavy focus into hitting as hard as I could with an axe. I found it is much more efficient to be a better grappler. The rules just favor better. Armor's so good. Uh, if you want to get a quick, easy takedown, you want to be good at grappling.
Okay. So do you do any soft kit?
Any soft kit?
Yeah.
We unfortunately can't afford any right now. It's unfortunate how expensive a lot of those suits are. We
Yeah.
have done I've definitely done it in the past. It can be very valuable. Like we had a couple suits when I was living up in Washington. I think whatever style of gear you're practicing in, you either want all or nothing. So it's like for wrestling, we don't want to do anything. You don't want to just throw on a helmet or gloves. Or if you're in armor, you don't want to do stuff without the helmet or without your gauntlets. I know it can get pretty uncomfortable being in armor for a long time, but when you get those mismatches of not being fully armored and protected, uh, you really start to risk injury. That's probably where I've seen the most injuries happen is where people are trying to like take shortcuts or only be partially armored for something that they're trying to do, and that doesn't work out. I think you want to make sure that if you're doing head strikings, like you want to have a protected head, and I mean, worst comes to worst, like just always communicate and have clear expectations with what you're doing with the people you're training with. But always being consistent in all armor or all protection or no armor or no protection is going to be how you're safest. I've even seen people like, even if you're just not in armor and you're hitting someone in armor, like I've seen weapons ricochet back and hit the person that's not armored. Like you gotta be careful.
With the all the preparation, mental, physical, financial, uh, is there anything? I usually focus this question on recovery, but is there anything that is part of your secret sauce that has brought you to the level of your success that you're having now?
So unfortunately, I think and I recognize I work very hard and I need to value the work I put into it. But I am also very fortunate to be very financially like comfortable. And I have a titanium kit which weighs 40 pounds. It's awesome. And like not only can I check it all in a bag, but my armor is so much lighter than a lot of what women have like are stuck wearing. Like I think recently I saw a post from Lindy who's at least a foot smaller than me and her armor weighed 68 pounds. And it's like I'm already bigger and stronger. Now I'm carrying less weight that I need to still be fully protected and covered. But I definitely have an advantage there. I think taking the investment to get titanium armor, uh, honestly, I was able to make my titanium chest piece.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's possible. And then like please support Ukrainian armorers. They're great. Even with the war going on, they've been fantastic about putting out excellent work. Um, but yes, I think my magic titanium armor helps me have a very strong edge.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Kathryn. Um, I really appreciate the time. You gave me a nice long interview here. Um, if there's anywhere that people can reach you, please shout it out now.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm on Facebook as Kathryn McQueen. I have an Instagram as Catalot Wildheart, and please feel free to contact the Matagot team page. We're very good at checking that regularly and uh, getting advice and help to young new fighters. Please feel free to reach out and ask questions.